Are you ready to have your website get found by the right people? Are you looking to rank at the top of Google so you get more traffic to your website? Are you ready to learn how to use SEO and content marketing to grow your organic traffic? If so, you are in the right place, my friend. Welcome to the Simple SEO Content Podcast. Hi, and welcome back to the Simple SEO Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Lindhagen, and I'm so glad to have you here with me today. Today, we're going to talk about how long should your blog post be for SEO. So if you are creating content on a regular basis, you're blogging, or you have a YouTube show or a podcast video or podcast, and you are creating blog posts to go along with your content to showcase it to help you get more traffic from Google, you're very likely wondering, how long does this need to be? How many words do I need to include? You may even be wondering, can I have ChatGPT write it for me? No. Let's not have ChatGPT write it for you. We're not going to get the quality that we need. Let's just say that right now. But how long should it be? So this is one of those questions where the answer is not black and white. The answer is it should be as long as it needs to be. And that's really ambiguous and difficult and not super helpful, huh? You probably would rather I tell you it should be 500 words, it should be 750, it should be 2,000. Though if I say it should be 2,000 words, you're probably thinking, no, Rachel, I'm not doing that. So the reason I say it should be as long as it needs to be is because Google really wants you to focus on your reader. What information do they need? What should you include in it? The other thing I want you to think about and look at is, what is the competition sharing on that subject? Because the reality is you're not going to be the only person writing a blog post on whatever subject you're writing on, because most of us are not in underserved markets. Most of us have competition, and having competition is not a bad thing. Having competition tells us there is a market for our product, our service, our niche, etc. So what you can do when you're trying to figure out how long should your blog post be, how many words do you need, what I want you to start with is go to Google using an incognito browser window. Remember, that's the really important part, because that's where we get the information that doesn't have our personalized results. So what we see is more like what someone else would see when searching for keywords related to our business. So I want you to go. Once you've identified kind of what you should be writing on, you found a keyword idea, go and put that keyword into Google using the incognito browser window and take a look and see who's ranking on page one now, who's ranking at the top of page one. You've already identified that this is a good keyword. You have a really good chance of ranking for it. So that part we don't have to worry about. But what we're looking at is, what type content does Google think is a good result for that keyword? Are these short blog posts? Are they long blog posts? Do they have video in them? Do they have audio in them? Do they have lots of graphics? Do they maybe have an infographic? Is it a listicle? Like, what type content is it, and approximately how long it is? Now, I don't want you to copy them, because that's not the point. We're not going to rank high if all we're doing is copying them, but we want to have an idea what's ranking, because if what's ranking is a 1,500 word blog post and we write something with 300 words, it's very unlikely that Google is going to think that our 300 word blog post is more helpful and provides more value than a 1,500 word blog post that is probably going much more in depth than ours is. So you do want to look at that and think about it and be very realistic there. Now, what you can do if you're trying to figure out what to cover in it, you can always go to ChatGPT or Claude. I personally prefer Claude. I've played around with several of them. I feel like Claude works a little bit better from a content perspective, but you can go to an AI tool and you can give it the keyword and tell it like who your ideal customer is, who your audience is, what you want to write about. This is the blog post title, and you help me outline it. And it can help you outline the blog post, and it can give you ideas for what you should include in it. You can even have it give you a rough draft of it if you really aren't sure what to say. Now, I don't want you to copy paste anything out of AI onto your website because you're not going to rank with it, but it can help get you started, which can speed up the process. Another thing you can do is to put your competitor's blog post into your AI tool and ask Google to use that as an input. So this is the article, this is the competitor. What else could I put into my article to hopefully beat this article? And you can ask Google, and Google can give you suggestions for additional content or additional, here's another good one, semantically related keywords. Like, what other semantically related information or semantically related keywords could I add here? That can help you as well. So the reality is, the length of your blog post is going to depend on the competition in your market and the competition for that keyword. If everybody who's ranking at the top of page 1 has super long blog posts, you're probably not going to outrank them with a super short one. If they all have video in their posts, then you probably need to have video, because Google is ranking those because they are a good user experience. People who are going to those pages are liking what they're seeing. They're watching the videos, they're engaging with the content, they're listening to the audio clips, etc. So if you're trying to break into the top 10, then looking at that information is going to be helpful. So how long is your post? It depends. And I know that's probably not the answer that you wanted, but I want you to take a very strategic approach in creating your content this year, because the more strategic we can be, the better results we're going to get. So I don't ever want you to come in and say, we're going to write a 500-word blog post, because when we write to a specific word count, it's not very good, because we're more focused on the word count than the value and helping our ideal customer, providing helpful content, all of that. And helpful content is a big part of what Google is looking for from our content perspective. They're also grading us based on EEAT, which is experience, expertise, authority, and trust. So make sure when you are creating your blog post, you are highlighting your experience, your expertise, your authority, and trustworthiness. Now, authority and trustworthiness are going to be something you can show a little bit in your blog post, but they're also going to be signals that Google gets from other websites. And they're really looking at like the sentiment around your brand in general. Is it positive? Is it negative? They want to see that you have a brand across different channels. So Google's looking at all of that. So when you're writing a blog post, the answer is there's no perfect keyword, or there's no perfect number of words for your blog post for SEO. You need to look and see what the competition is doing, how long their posts are, what type additional media they're putting into the posts, and you need to create something that will hopefully outrank those. I hope that helps. If you have any questions, you can DM me on Instagram, or you can submit the Google Doc that's in here that has the link is in the show notes, the description on the podcast episode. I go through all of that when I'm planning my content, and I use your questions for podcast episodes. You can also text the show through Buzzsprout. Now, I can't respond back to the texts, but I read them and I use them to help to come up with topics and help teach on things that I know you are interested in learning. All right, that's it for today. Have a great one. Bye for now. That's all for today's episode of the Simple SEO Content Podcast. I want to thank you so much for joining me. Make sure you visit my website, etchedmarketing.com, and visit the freebies tab. Right there, you're going to find the SEO Content Quick Start Guide along with the free SEO class. So you'll have everything you need to know to get started with SEO and content marketing. Then do me a favor, if you wouldn't mind, if you would do a rating and a review of this podcast on your favorite platform. That would really help spread the message, and I do greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions, you can always DM me on Instagram at Etched Marketing Academy, and I will see you right back here next week.